Good morning, everyone. This is Nate G. Going to do a quick lesson here on breakouts and how to play them. We are looking at the chart here in Rivian, and the Rivian's had this nice comeback off of these lows. Rivian is a high short float name, which means there's a lot of shorts in this name, and as it goes up, shorts have to buy back their position, right? To stop out. If a short is stopping out, they're buying back their position, which creates buying, which moves the stock higher, right? Which then creates more shorts stopping out. And then uh, it creates more buying, right? So in Rivian, we are looking for a breakout. We've been watching a breakout. This is a 15-minute chart here, but we've kind of been trying to get it over this $16 level because then shorts really we've kind of left this pattern, and shorts are kind of really in trouble. So we made a new high a couple of days ago here at 1632. We had a pretty massive sell off. The whole market sold off at that point. So that was just part of everything. And all these short float names like UPST, Carvana, TTD, not TTD, I'm sorry, AI. They kind of made a little bit of a run or a little bit of a sell off altogether. But now we've kind of recouped over the last three days ish on Rivian, and we've come up. And this morning we were going to test this high, and so I want to talk about what happens in a breakout most of the time. Now, as you know, the market, things happen. Um, there's kind of a most of the time scenario, but it's the market. The market does what it wants. So this isn't 100% foolproof methodology, but you will typically get. So as you see here, this is the one day. We opened here. We touched the high that we had previously made 4 or 5 days ago, right? Maybe 6 days ago. So we opened up. This is a 1 minute chart we're looking at. We opened up, we touched it, we pulled back, we consolidated for a while, put in a little cup and handle, and we started climbing towards this 1632 level. And what happened is we broke out. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to play this breakout, and this is actually not working the way it's supposed to now, but it may still, but it was going to give me my perfect example. What you'll get on a breakout, if you have your lines set correctly on a breakout, you will get an initial push up through that breakout. And the reason you can help establish that it's a valid breakout is that you get a good clean candle push through that breakout level. And then what am I looking for to go with it? Can anybody guess? You get a good clean candle, not a high wick. And what else am I looking for? Anyone? Okay. I'm looking for high volume. Okay. I want to see a good full candle through that breakout level. And then I want to see high volume right here. And that kind of gives you an indication that there are buyers and they are valid buyers. If we got to push through that level on low volume, that would tell me that that's potentially market makers, right? Market makers trying to either run some stops or just see if they can get buyers to come in at that level. Okay. So we pushed through and we got a high volume, right? So we can feel pretty good that this is kind of a valid breakout, right? And the temptation would be to try and get in as that pushes through. And sometimes they push up through a little higher. And this works within most patterns. But what you'll get initially is most times, sometimes it just goes and you just, you missed it. But you'll get a first retest on the 1 minute chart. So you push through, you retest that level. So if you miss this breakout, which you probably should because you're not sure if it's going to be a real breakout or a false breakout. But if you push through, we're going to get a retest of that area and then a go. So if you're looking to play this breakout, it makes more sense, right? It's a smarter play to pick it up on the dip to that level than it is to try and chase it on the push through, right? And this one is only, a couple of cents. What are we talking about? 5, 6, 7, 8 cents, something like that. So yeah, it's a lot of times you'll get a little bit more of a move. You'll come back to that target, right? You can pick it up there and then you can get your push up. But what you'll get in most cases is a second retest of the breakout level. So what was resistance, we can all agree that 1632 is resistance, right? Now becomes support. So you push up, it retests it really quick, and then goes again, right? And pushes to new highs. And then that acts as a support. And what in a lot of cases you'll get is a second retest of that area. And if it's strong and the market's also strong, it's just going to go, right? And I was hoping that this was coming back into this area. And right here you can see as we started to bounce, as I came on the mic, we were here, right? I was hoping that was going to just keep going and it would show you the 1-2 pattern that you're going to get in a breakout, right? This also works on a breakdown. Right, if a pattern breaks down, a lot of times it'll initially pierce that level, run some stops, come back and retest that same level. I can't remember what I do. I think I go like this. Hold on, let's see. Do I go? Is it command? No, it's here. Yeah. So I just flipped the Rivian chart. Right, it's still Rivian, but if this were our resistance level, right? And we broke that pattern, and this has to be, a true resistance level with volume profile and everything. But you can see, if it were in reverse, this is what a breakdown would look like. You'd push through, you'd run some stops, you'd come back and retest it and roll back over again, right? And then potentially either it's gonna go, but a lot of times you'll get a second test of that area and then another roll, right? So in this case, when do you sell after the second test? I would often after. Here's how I would play this. Let me take this back. Right, I did not play this. Right, full disclosure. I was busy looking at something else. But the move would be to buy this retest, the first retest, sell into this push up, right? Sell a big chunk, right? So you scalped 3/4 of your trade. You still got a trailer on, right? You're expecting a retest of this area. So you come in, you rebuy here in this area, and then I would take, if it goes, I would take another chunk off of into the break of that new high. And then I've basically scalped this move twice, and then I've got a trailer on for a runner for a further move. And I would use volume profile for that move, trying to figure out where we're going on that second one. But this is not working out the way we had hoped. We got the breakout, and now we've come down in and reclaimed the pattern. Now we may go again, but this is just a good example of how that works. Even over here on Adobe, we pierced through the level, this level here, and I'll go out to, let's go to like a 10-minute chart. And we talked about Adobe earlier this week, right? So we're setting in this resistance level here, and our support level way down here, right? And we're playing with inside this pattern. And I was long Adobe off of the point of control. And yesterday I was just kind of bouncing and hanging around this point of control down here at 481, right? We pierced through this high, and now we've reclaimed the pattern again, right? Which happens. So breakouts don't work all the time. So if you get a false breakout and it reclaims the pattern, I would expect this to eventually come back into 481 POC level. It may not, it may, if we find a lot of strength here, it may go from here. But generally when we break out, right, in this one, you can see we got our breakout, we got our reclaim, sorry, retest, I'm using the wrong phrase. Retest here, and then it went, and then it tried again, and then it went, becomes support. Now it's broken support, right? Now it's broken support, and then this, if you just look at this yellow line here, let me just do this. Let me get rid of my volume profile. Whoa, sorry, that's the wrong button. Pierce through, it becomes support, support, support. We break it, it now becomes resistance, right? So we break it back down into the pattern, come back up and test it again. We tested it once, tested it twice, and we rolled back over to VWAP. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'll look at stuff here in a second. So you can play these breakouts, but really look for these retests. They're kind of important, and you can play off of them. Now Adobe, this was a false breakout today. It gave it its best shot, and then it came back into the pattern, right? That doesn't mean it's not going to go. I mean, it's bouncing off that VWAP area now, right? But it now has resistance back here again at 490.75, and we're back into the pattern. So I sold my Adobe today, kind of into this spike under this resistance level. I did not play it into this break at all. And now I've got an alert set in down here at 484.96. If it comes down into there, I'm going to pick it up again. And Nate's taking a lot of an Adobe right now. So does anybody have any questions about that kind of breakout? And I'll definitely look at some charts. Let's look at D-Dog. Regarding the breakout this AM. Okay, let's see here. I want to see what you're looking at. I don't know that I would call D-Dog a breakout. It broke over its 1-day level, like its high from this morning, which I suppose you could call a mini breakout, but I'm looking at kind of larger patterns, and I think it came right up into resistance here, right? I think this is a resistance level. You've got one touch, two touch, three touch, and that's like a double touch right there. And now we're rolling. Does that make sense? I set the breakout level using volume profile and the chart itself. So on Rivian, Let's back up a little bit. Whoops. So on Rivian, the breakout level for me was set when we put in this high on Wednesday of last week, right? We put in this high here, and then we came up and we touched that same high here this morning and pulled back. Now that's part of a larger overall pattern. If we look at the 30-minute, that Rivian's been trying to break out of, right? It's been trying to break out above this 1575 level on this larger pattern. And it has spiked up and it has come back up. So it kind of created a new breakout level. But it's within sort of this range that we're playing, trying to get above. And Rivian really looks great for a runner because it does have a high short float. And if I get rid of all these drawings and I come out and let's look at like a 65-minute chart, and we kind of get rid of all of those guys there. Okay, hold on just a second. It should reset. Okay, we are now moving above sort of this level here, which is the top end of this value area. And then above that, there's not a lot. As you can see, there's a ton of people in here, which we've been playing within, right? And breaking above that, there's not a lot of volume. So this could get some movement here. But we've also spiked up above it and pulled right back in. So you want me to talk about UPST? Sure. So the quick little lotto bounce that I took today was off of this volume profile level. And we got a nice little bounce in there. And I took it off into there. I actually took it off. So the profits were small for this one. I took it off because I was just not really watching it all that closely, which I should have been watching it closer. I took it off right into here as it looked like it was getting ready to break down. But the volume profile level that I was watching, I mean, we've been watching UPST, right? And you see this massive VP level right here. As we were coming down into that, I was expecting that to give us a little bit of a bounce. Please mark the breakout area on what chart, Angela? Yeah, James. Yeah, so my initial target on UPST, was, back up into the bottom area of, this chunk of people. But it's market dependent, right? If the market's not going to give us the bounce we want, then, we've got to take what we can get. And on short dated lottos, well, it came up into here. The reason I was looking to take it off, and some other people did in the room, they said a couple people said they took it for 10-15%, but you're taking a lotto here, bouncing it, you get this double top and it doesn't push through, right? So it's like, okay, I got to keep an eye on this because if it's not going to push through, then it's going to start to roll again and retest that area potentially. And so on a zero DTE off of a volume profile level, if I'm not confident I'm going to take it off in time, I usually have a stop, a hard stop set in just below that level, so that I don't really want to just let this expire worthless, right? So I'm gonna either catch a bit of that bounce for a couple bucks, or I'm just gonna stop out at next to zero. I'm only gonna lose a couple bucks. So let's look at UPST on a larger time frame here. So now in UPST, we have a little bit of a trend line here, as you can see. We've broken below that. We're also below a little bit of the major VP that we broke, but we're not completely out of the pattern. So to me, kind of the bottom end of this volume profile area is down here. So we're either going to see a bounce at this level, at basically 35, where we're at, right? I think if we break down that level, we're coming all the way into, this 34, essentially 34.18 level, right? Can you see that? And so somebody just asked, let's see. Somebody just asked about how do you know, Dave C. Could you explain how you know resistance and support levels? I know resistance and support levels based on the volume profile, which is over here on the left-hand side of my chart. And I went through kind of how to establish that yesterday. And then on Wednesday of this upcoming week, I'm doing Thursday, I'm doing a beginner VP lesson. And we'll go through exactly what that looks like. You're using volume profile to set support and resistance levels. So does anybody have any questions on the breakout and retest? JC Dave, I am using VRVP, which when you search for it, you get it's visible range volume profile. I think you have to be pro. I'm not sure. At least not the base level of trading view. Okay, let's see what Adobe does here at what is old resistance. Seems like it wants to break out. But I just don't know if the market's got the strength today. I mean, we started out with a gap. Oh, you want to see the settings? Yeah, of course. Here, I'll just open this for inputs. That's what I have in there. I have row size at 200, just because I like a little bit more detail, but you can change that. I think it starts at 70, which is really thick and chunky. And then, so you can take a screenshot of that if you need it. And then that's what I have in as the style. You can take a screenshot of that if you want to. And Donnie uses TC2000, or sorry, D-Man uses TC2000 for his volume profile levels. And the levels are pretty good, generally the same in terms of TradingView and TC2000, but they can be a little different, and so you'll hear D-Man and I argue about levels, which is futile because his levels are always way more precise than mine. So I should just go with his when he's wrong, when we disagree. Yeah, let me look at Lulu. Okay, we were looking at Lulu on this 30-minute chart, right? Yeah, look at that breakdown and reclaim. So that's the other thing that we'll talk about. So you have a breakdown and retest, which means you're retesting the breakdown levels and continuing to either break down or break up, right? And in other cases, you have what's called a breakdown and reclaim, which means it breaks the pattern. Man, Lulu, I would have stopped out of Lulu if I was in it, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so this would have been 360, 372.45 would have been my stop level. And back to Jay or whoever asked me about the support and resistance levels. I'm finding that by coming into the bottom end of this volume profile node here on the side. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Right, that's the bottom end, and it also lines up, with the bottom of this pattern. So that's my support and stop out level. And you can see based on the rules that I was talking about a minute ago, this pattern did a breakdown and retest and then further breakdown, right? So let's go to a 5-minute. So based on what we were just talking about, into the close yesterday, it broke our level, or broke the level I would have had, right? Came back and retested it once, twice, and then rolled. I would have stopped out of this thinking this pattern was a bust. And then we wake up this morning and this has reclaimed the pattern and even come up here and essentially touched resistance and come back down into point of control. So, long answer to your question. I apologize. This reclaimed, bounced off of our resistance level, and then came right back into the point of control. And now it's moving, right? So if you picked it up, if you weren't in it and you picked it up today off of 376.13, what a great pickup that was. If you're in it, if you're asking if you should get in it now, it does feel a little extended with a weekend coming up, a half day on Monday, a day off on Tuesday. It's extended off of all levels that I would be comfortable picking it up here for a long. Does that make sense? Generam, you're using Toss, and you need. Oh, you're talking about different screens you need open. I use Toss for a lot of my trading, and next week we'll go over that. I can toggle over and just kind of show you what that looks like. But I'm gonna stop the recording here, but I'm gonna keep streaming